I'm Lisa Starr, and this is Natural Time, the video version of my podcast, which is on all the platforms Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then we have the weekend edition, and I just stare into my iPhone for a while and talk to you about the calendar's rhythms. And I try to make this a beginner ready, savvy venture on the weekend. So if you're a beginner, this is a perfect place for you to learn about natural time, and I will make sure we don't get too deep too fast. I will start by explaining some pretty big basics because I want to set up for getting into more than just the Tzolk'in calendar, which I cover every time we meet. So I'll reiterate that the Tzolk'in calendar is a 260-day sacred count for the Maya. It is not tracking our journey around the sun, our ellipsis, as the Earth does over 365-ish days. Instead, it is perhaps tracking something astronomically, but it's most concretely tracking gestation of a human being in the womb. So it's a 9-month calendar. And it is full of 13-day wave spells, 13-day segments of time that are shaped like a wave. Instead of being linear or on a grid like a regular calendar, the 13 days build to a peak and then dissolve. And in that wave shape, that wave form, they're called a wave spell, and it's a count of 13. And so each time I'm here, I'm talking about the wave spell that we're in. And a wave spell is always named for its first day. And it represents that first day's tribe or totem for the entire run. There are 20 different sacred totems that are also called tribes because each one of us is born on a totem day, and then we become part of a tribe representing that totem. So the totem that we are currently paying attention to and really exposed to its teaching is the yellow seed. So the first day of the wave spell that we're in right now, the 13-day period that we're in right now, was a yellow seed day, and we keep thinking about yellow seed the whole time. Yellow seed is one of 20 tribes or totems, and each one of these has an opposite or balancing tribe. So there are 20 different choices, but they're all linked in pairs that are considered opposite and both challenging and balancing. The way this is described in our body, because all of the count that I am presenting here is lodged on the human form, is the 20 fingers and toes. That's where the Maya counted these day signs, these totems, these tribes. Over 20 days, they would pass through their 20 fingers and toes. That was more available to them because they were not, bundled up in socks and shoes because the climate didn't warrant that. They were barefoot or sandaled or whatever, and so they could really easily include their toes in any kind of the necessity of tracking time because a lot less was written down. They had scrolls and made paper, but I think that was probably for elite people only. And so the everyday person would just be keeping count and track of things on what was available to them, like their digits. So the 20 tribes can pair up based on matching fingers and toes. So our thumbs, they oppose one another on our hands, but they look really similar, and that is considered an opposite or antipode. The word pode comes there, like podiatrist, has to do with toes or digits on our fingers and toes, our feet and hands. So an antipode is an opposite finger or toe tribe. So if you want to start with our thumbs, it's pretty easy because the right thumb is the yellow sun and the left thumb is white dog, and they are opposite in how they're positioned, and they're 10 days apart when we count through the 20 tribes. And also they're opposite directions, right? So the North is white, like white dog, and the south is yellow, like yellow sun. And then if you take our pointer fingers, that would be red dragon on our right hand, and left hand, it would be blue monkey. And so that is red opposite blue. Red is the east, blue is the west. So there's perfect opposition there as well. So to be clear, any finger or toe represents one of the tribes, and you can memorize that or tune into any of my literature. It's all online. And then you can know that the opposite finger or toe is representing the opposite but balancing force, tribe, totem, noun that we use here, sacred nouns. I'm telling you this whole spiel, and I hope you're retaining some of it. It's the kind of thing you just circle back to and learn a little bit more each time. But the antipode relationship is one of my favorites because it really shows how to have spiritual, emotional, and like mental health balance in our lives. If you were born on a particular day and you find your antipode tribe or totem really uncomfortable, almost like hostile territory when you enter it, when you pass through the days, when you meet people who hold that tribe as their astrology, then I don't think that you have balance or wellness yet. You need to cultivate it. I can try to use this example of the wave spell we're in. That's the buildup here with all of this like sort of professorial knowledge for you, is because I want to talk about why this wave spell that we're in, yellow seed, is opposite the antipode of the year that we've been in since July 26, 2023. So I don't talk about the 365-day calendar or the Earth's orientation around the sun that takes 365 days. I don't really get into that in this particular weekend podcast or video. I'm trying mostly to talk about the wave spell and the Zolkin without getting into all the layers of natural time, because there are several layers. But I really want to wrap up some of this yellow seed wave spell that we're in. It's day 11 of 13 right now, by pointing out that it has been opposite and challenging to the year that we're in, and maybe balancing as well. So now I'm going to teach you a whole different lesson. Some of you know this, some of you have heard it once before or a handful of times, but I'm just trying to hammer it home that our natural time year, the one oriented to Mayan history and Mayan calendar teachings, is not January 1st. That's arbitrary. It came as a sort of evolution out of the winter solstice. Over time, it just moved forward, and we don't have anything to say for it other than it's locked in as the New Year's for most of the planet for a long time now. But if you're studying natural time and the Mayan teachings and their calendars, then your New Year is always July 26th. Always. And so July 26th, that day happens to land each year on a Zolkin day, the 260-day Zolkin, which of course, because it's not 365 days long, it keeps, like repeating within it. Just think about like a 9-month period fits within a year, but then you have to start another 9-month period. And that means that you are basically, moving through the cycle of 9 months much more quickly than the year cycle. And yet there's a relationship between both. So the Zolkin, let's just say that the Zolkin day that falls on July 26th is always what we name our new Mayan year for. July 26th of 2023 was White Overtone Wizard. It was the 5th day of a wave spell, 13-day wave spell, that was connected to White Dog. So White Dog, the wave spell, the whole time we're in it, is about love, heart, and loyalty, and all the things that we can imagine and think about when we think about dogs. That they're kind of wild and free, but they're also extraordinarily conditionally they're so heartful and heartfelt that they do what we say and are forgiving all the time, almost all the time. And they just are resilient. They're just so heart-centered, and that's what they represent in the calendar. So this year started in the midst of that wave spell, and it carries some of that surrounding wave spell energy. The 13-day wave spell, it came forward through the whole year. But our bigger focus is just on that title, that name, that description in astrology, White Overtone Wizard. It is a white wizard year. And we have white wizard years every 4 years. The Mayan natural time year rotates through 4 tribes only. July 26th is always either a red moon day or a white wizard day or a blue storm day or a yellow seed day. So we're currently in a white wizard year. Overtone is the number 5 in word form. So it's the 5th day of 13 in a 13-year wave spell, which I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about right now, but I do in the other podcast, and it's just something you can reflect back on. What were you doing 4.5 years ago? What began? Because we started a 13-year wave spell at that time. So this is like a long, complex way of telling you it's a white wizard year, and it's a white overtone wizard. The overtone part means that we're becoming empowered this year and vital and full of energy and radiance. Like, we're good to go. We've had 4 formative years where we were starting a process and sifting through what it entailed at the outset and struggling through challenges that arose right at the outset. But by here, the 5th year, it's taught that we get empowerment and we start to move, and not really our aspirations, but our engagement is in place. Like, we're engaged. We're not struggling to figure out in confusion or parsing what it all means. The beginning of the year presents us with a lot of information. Instead, we've made it through a lot of the examination or coming to terms with what we're being asked to face in the year, and then it's time to get going. So when it is a 13-year wave spell, and we have a whole year in the 5th tone, the overtone tone, we get a whole year of kind of flipping from doing detailed work and trying to make sense of our fate to having power surges that allow us to have breakthroughs and become more empowered. The question for this whole year is, how can I best empower myself? And I think a perfectly acceptable mutation of that is, how can I best be empowered? And empowered follows after being of service and having a purpose. So our empowerment is going to be something that allows us to be purposeful and in service to others. But like, where do we get either the motivation or just like the oomph, the power, the tenacity? And again, I like the word radiance because it means we're moving kind of in all directions equally. It's not like trying to etch a line, and follow that specific trail, but to just be like the sun itself, where we are able to feel power and vitality kind of in all directions, and we take up the totality of our space. So white overtone wizard, one simple way of kind of having a mantra is that there's a question, how can I best empower myself? And the answer is, the question comes with a tone, right? Like overtone, how can I best empower myself? And the answer comes with a tribe. What is the tribe about? That's the answer. How can I best empower myself? ? Well, by being affiliated or ensconced in the white wizard teaching. And what is that? Well, white wizard is not a word that would have been used by the Maya. White means being in the north, so it's a place that's holy and sort of unseen and associated with the heavens and the other world than the sentient one. And it is also the shaman that was celebrated by the Maya. For them, it was specifically the jaguar shaman, the shaman who wore the coat of the jaguar, like the fur, which was spotted, yellowish with black spots, and that was considered the way you could look up at the stars and see all those spots. The jaguar shaman wore the stars on their back. So this year, how can I best empower myself? The answer is by being shamanic or a shaman. It does not have to be the jaguar shaman. Not many of us are indigenous Maya in our histories. Some, though. I'm not. But I really have a strong sense of equality that Anglo-Saxon or Caucasian people also have a shamanic and indigenous history. It just seems more remote because we did way too much colonizing and destroying of other cultures. But, you know, previous to those exploits, if you go back far enough, you'll find an indigenous, pagan, much more naturalistic, less religiosity, like a history, a lineage there. So I am comfortable with White Wizard because to me, it represents kind of like, yeah, the Great Britain version of being a shaman or a healer. So for me, that's accessible. The famous White Wizard person with that astrology is Carl Jung, and he is sort of my icon of what White Wizard represents, because he was just a psychologist, but he was so innovative and perceptive and intuitive, and he coined the word synchronicity, which refers to that magical sense that everything is connected, or certain things are, and you can notice them, you can feel it as a frequency. And so White Wizard, the year that we're in, seems great for honoring any culture, almost any point in history, having healers, and being one right now, and being also subjected to that kind of healing or energy work yourself. Like, it's a great time to be in the presence of a shaman, as you describe them as well. So I'm talking about this really emphatically because I'm a believer in what I say, and I'm noticing in my life right now that shamanism or shamanic healing or energy healing or needing to heal, like not being able to go another step forward without stopping and doing some of the kind of extractive exorcisms that, regular medical doctors are also removing evil or ill from our body when they are trying to eradicate disease. But there is a way where you can be sick where you don't really have the actual medical diagnosis of something in particular. And once again, shamanism addresses whichever you have. And that I have been suffering extremely in a lot of this year with shadow energy kind of like torquing my whole being. And then I recently found a way to sort of self-heal through shamanism that has reset me almost completely or totally. So I wanted to bring all of that up in a really long-winded way, because Yellow Seed and White Wizard, the year that we're in, and Yellow Seed, the wave spell of 13 days we're currently in, are opposite. They are our pinky fingers, right? So I have to do it backwards because of the recording device, but I believe then this would be my, this is my left hand. My left hand is, I know it looks opposite to you though. Okay, well, never mind. I know I'm holding up my left hand, even if it doesn't look like it's my left hand to you. And my left hand is always going to be the White Wizard pinky. The right pinky finger is Yellow Seed. So maybe to you it looks opposite. Keep talking about that. They are very similar fingers. They look more alike than my other fingers. They're short. Their placement is at the outside of my hand. So again, there's a similarity even though they're placed in opposition. And they really create balance when they are brought together. And they also kind of like, you can contain the whole world in these ways that we grip and have opposing fingers. as a metaphor, you could contain the whole world. And so the yellow seed wave spell that we've been in has been challenging us, and it's been balancing us within this white wizard year. And it's over. The part that's really decisively opposite and challenging has ended, because today is white spectral wizard, and always the 11th day of a wave spell, 13-day wave spell, peaks on the 10th day, and the 11th day always is when the wave falls apart and returns to earth or the ocean after climbing into the sky to its highest point of ascent. And always a wave spell breaks in the tribe that's opposite or antipode to the wave spell itself. So this is like multi-layered, which is why I love the calendars. I have a pretty like energized mind, can be on overdrive if I don't give it things to kind of chew on. And so this works for me, and I'm sorry if you get overwhelmed by all the layers, but right now it's a white wizard day within a white wizard year, which is nice. That's magical. That's a doubling of energy. And it's also a white wizard day that is sort of breaking the refrain of yellow seed that we've been in for the last 10 days. It's a day of liberation when the wave breaks. And it's also been 10 days of being opposite but balancing to the whole year. And the way I would describe that, and then I will say nothing more, is that the shaman's journey of healing and being healed is almost exclusively about energy. Yeah, maybe resetting some bones in an ancient world, but the maladies of an ancient world would be, yes, you could be clawed by something or injured in battle, but there was energy work under like a different name that was so important and kind of got snuffed out by logic and reason as societies advanced out of the Stone Ages. So I just believe that we can feel that all that energy work that happens under the white wizard umbrella of the tribe is really balanced when we get to yellow seed, the opposite, because yellow seed is everything you can touch. It's being tactile ourselves and receptive sensually to light and heat and moving towards the light, but it's also you can feel the texture of plant life on this planet and how succulent it is. So I feel like there's some kind of beautiful harmony between the energy work of shamanic training and teaching and the activity of healing and the kind of more concrete or super malleable, tangible life cycle and existence of plants. So I did not stop talking for the entire run. There was no storytelling. It was just me being a lecturer, but every episode is different. Every day is different. That's my motto to myself. Every day is different when you follow the calendars that fall under the auspice of natural time and Mayan teachings. Every day is different, and that's really invigorating and exciting and powerful and beautiful. And I'm Lisa Starr. I am another yourself, and in Mayan we say, in Lakesh.